question I get asked most often on pretty much all my videos is, how do I draw dragons? The great thing about that is dragons aren't real, so you can base them off pretty much whatever you want, draw anything you really want to, and call it a dragon, and it is. Because of that, there's basically infinite amounts of ways to draw a dragon correctly, but this is just my process, how I do it, which I assume is what people want to know when they ask that question. So, you start with your sphere, and then when I'm doing the snout, I like to connect it in this kind of shape. I know when other people do it, they like to do a circle and then connect lines to it. Some people like to do like a cube coming out. Personally, I'm not really a fan of either of these. The circle I think lacks a lot of important structure, and just doing like a box, it can make things feel too rigid. Like I know people like to, when they're doing perspective, they like to use it, but I feel like a lot of the time it just makes things look too square and not quite real enough. So personally I like to do something more like this, just to get the shape in. Then for the rest of the face, when you're doing a side view like this, I really like to focus on how the eyes are in perspective compared to like how they would look in a front view, which is obviously quite different. It's a different angle. Then the ears, generally around the middle of where the circle is, something like this. Then the horns, when I do them, I like to make them point up a little bit, but not too much. Something like this. Then the neck, I like to keep it about the same width as what the head is. So, something like this, just to sketch it in. And ta-da! Basic head from the side. For like an angled view, basically just take that and we'll rotate it. Make sure the ears are still about where they would be. The eyes obviously look quite different because it's a different angle. Something like that. And then the horns, when people do them from front, a lot of the time they just like doing them straight up like this, which I think looks quite nice, but when I do them I like to make them more like angled outwards. So, something like this. Yeah, the head, I don't really use that much structure for. Sometimes when I'm making them down viewed, I can kind of like struggle with the angle, so I draw on a brow line. And then connect the snacks below it. Here's where the brows would be, and then I put the eyes here and here. But yeah, not too much for the head. Then for the actual body, which I'm not very good at, so maybe don't take my word for this part. But if you imagine just a basic, like this shape, then this is where your like rib cage is, and it connects out to the pelvis and big long tail. I like to break the arms down into just two shapes. That kind of like front curved shape, and this one. I like straight here and straight here is generally what I try to stick to. And then this, the hand part, and here come the fingers, which are quite flat. And then same thing on behind there. The legs, they have this big like ovular shape. They make the beginning of them. Then they connect down into like this thigh-ish shape. And then the feet. One thing that's important to remember about like animal-ish legs like this is that this is where the thigh is. This is where like the calves are, and this whole thing is what your foot would be. So if you like to do what I do, which is to put like the top back toe up here, like this is all foot, basically. And then for the wings, I connect them here. I know some people when they're doing them, they connect them more to the front, which I quite like the look of, but generally I do it further back behind the legs. And one thing that's important to remember about wings is that they're basically just giant, like, hands. They're based off bat wings, which, like, literally they are just their hands or their wings. Front part of the arm, back part. And then here's the thumb. And then you've got the big long fingers. When you're doing that, like, membrane between them, when they're, like, close together like this, I know some people will, like, or generally when I do it as well, I, like, include this lump where it bags together. So if you imagine that like fully extended as a wing, maybe it's not quite the best drawing, but if you pick it like that'd be more extended, and then when it's closed, it's more like baggy like that. Yeah, you don't have to, but I like doing it like that. And then for more like a front view, I like doing the like hexagonal-ish shape, just for the front of the chest. Imagine here's where the neck connects to. Then the arms, kind of in like this for where the top of them are, and then connecting like that. Yeah. Head on like that. I think that's kind of it for drawing the body. I mean, I definitely could have gone into more detail. A lot of what I do is probably incorrect anyway, so maybe it wouldn't be very helpful. But yeah, that's kind of just how I draw dragons. I don't put too much thought into it. I'm definitely not very good at, like, anatomy or drawing dragons in general, but hopefully this is at least a little helpful. I would in future like to just make individual tutorials for each of the tribes and how I draw them, like, differently. But I think just as a general dragon base, this is pretty much what I do, yeah. This is just a quick and dirty explanation of how I block in my dragons when I'm drawing them. If there are any particular body parts, or just parts of my process in general that you'd like me to break down, let me know and I'll try to throw something together for you. This is just my simple process of how I draw my dragons.